when was there a moment when you realized life was going to look different than you expected, and how did that realization feel internally?
Wow, that's a great question. I like that question because I have a personal story for that one.
I love it.
When I was like five, or yeah, when I wanted to be a basketball player, like I mentioned, I grew up with my cousin Omar because my dad's sister lived with us and her husband, my uncle. When they moved in, none of the, you know, none of them had kids, My parents didn't have a kid. Even my aunt didn't have a kid till my cousin Omar was born. Then 6 months later, I was born. So where I'm going with this, like, my cousin, we would always play like normal kids. And one day my cousin Omar was jumping on the bed. And I shared this story on my YouTube channel, but I wanted to share it here as well. He was jumping and I wanted to do that. And my mom told me that I wasn't able to, but like I always say, how do you explain a diagnosis to a 5-year old?
Yeah.
I mean, if you explain it, it can be like, how do I tell him, without make him feel bad. And my mom, the only approach she found was like, since Omar's older, 6 months older than me, like he's like your age, since you're 6 months older than me.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. My mom said, like, once you get older, because Omar's older than you will be able to jump. But my mom always knew that wasn't gonna happen. But she was like, how do I explain this, you know, and stuff? Because doctors always mentioned that it was best if they explained it to me in a way I could understand it
Hmm.
and stuff. So that's when I basically realized, like, if I can't jump on the bed now that I'm a kid, imagine when I become a teenager or an adult, like there'll be things that I probably won't be able to look forward to.
Yeah.
That memory transition to me like forever, we can say for the rest of my life.
And how did that like make you feel internally, like mentally?
Mentally, it was like make me feel like, man, how am I gonna survive this? Because I
Yeah.
was like, I know, my limitation, but when you're a teenager and adult, sometimes you can find illusion on, goals that are not important.
Yeah.
Like for me, realistic goals, that's the right word. So I was always like mentally worried, like, what if I don't you know, follow what I learned. Like when I was a kid, you can't do this. Try to. So that's why I always felt like, oh, what am I gonna do if I'm in a certain situation? What am I gonna do when I get older? Am I able to survive, or gonna be upset at the world?
Right. Yeah, something living with a progressive disability, like you have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, I have
Right.
spinal muscular atrophy, which they're
Mm-hmm.
similar but different. And but the
Right.
similarity of it is it's progressive, so progressive means
Mm-hmm.
over time our disabilities worsens. And
Correct.
like what
Correct.
you're talking about, where you think about the future and you're like, am I going to be angry with the world? Am I going to be frustrated with, with what's to come? Like what's going to
Right.
happen with
Exactly. That's what I
the
always, for me, it was always that, like, what am I gonna do? So even though I was five, that always stayed with me. As a kid, not much. Teenager, adult, it was like, once I get to that point, I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest thing to have to accept or let alone experience, like
Yeah,